Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we dive into a story that has stirred the South African political scene once again. Yes, we are talking about none other than Julius Malema, the outspoken leader of the economic freedom fighters, and a ruling that has once again placed him in the headlines, this time in the Equality Court in Cape Town. For those who may have missed it, the court has found Julius Malema guilty of hate speech. The ruling stems from comments he made at an EFF rally in Cape Town back in October 2022. During this rally, Malema referred to a clash involving EFF members and residents at Brackenfell High School in 2020, following allegations of a racist incident. He singled out a white man in his speech and urged his supporters to attend to him. The words he chose were strong, and some would argue deliberately provocative, as he said, and I quote, "You must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point, there must be killing because the killing is part of a revolutionary act." Now, you can imagine how these words landed. The South African Human Rights Commission, known for keeping a watchful eye on racial and social tensions, subsequently found him guilty of hate speech and lodged a formal complaint with the Equality Court. Additionally, an individual affected by the remarks filed a case, claiming to have been threatened as a result. Fast forward to Wednesday, August 27, 2025, and the court, under Judge Mark Sher, delivered its verdict. The ruling made it clear that Malema had demonstrated a clear intention to incite harm and to promote or propagate hatred. The comments, the judge said, amounted to hate speech in violation of the Equality Act. The Democratic Alliance, led by John Steenhuisen, did not waste time reacting. Steenhuisen welcomed the verdict, calling it a victory for the rule of law, for the Constitution, and for all South Africans who cherish the values of a free, fair, and non-racial society. He added that the DA would explore further action against Malema, accusing him of running a campaign to inflame racial tensions in the country. Now, if you're following South African politics, you know this is hardly the first time Malema has been involved in controversies surrounding race and rhetoric. His career has been punctuated by court cases, fines, and repeated headlines questioning whether his speeches cross the line between political expression and incitement. The Cape Town ruling is just the latest in a series of legal and political battles he faces. What makes this particularly fascinating is the timing. The ruling comes at a moment when South Africa is already grappling with deep racial and social divides. The Western Cape, where the Brackenfell High incident occurred, has historically been a hotspot for tensions between different communities, and political leaders are acutely aware of the sensitivity surrounding such matters. Julius Malema's comments, therefore, were not made in a vacuum, they resonate with long-standing societal frictions. In political terms, this ruling could have a ripple effect. The DA, already positioning itself as the main opposition force challenging the EFF and ANC on constitutional grounds, may use this court victory to strengthen its case as the defender of legal and social norms. For Malema and the EFF, however, it's a tricky spot. The party has built its brand on being loud, radical, and unafraid to provoke, especially on issues of racial inequality. So the question becomes, how will they respond? As of now, neither Malema nor the EFF had publicly reacted to the verdict. But knowing Malema, a dramatic statement or rally is probably just around the corner. This is also a moment to reflect on the role of the courts in South African politics. The Equality Court, established to protect against unfair discrimination and promote equality, has had to navigate increasingly complex political cases in recent years. Malema's case highlights the challenge of balancing freedom of expression with protection against incitement. On one hand, leaders must be able to speak freely, criticize, and mobilize supporters. On the other hand, when those words carry the potential to harm or threaten individuals, society expects legal intervention. Of course, we cannot ignore the human aspect of the case. People who felt threatened or intimidated by Malema's remarks were directly affected, and their concerns were formally recognized by the courts. It's easy to get caught up in political theatrics, but at the core, this is also about personal safety and social responsibility. Political leaders wield enormous influence, and words can sometimes carry consequences that ripple far beyond a rally. And let's be honest, this story has a bit of theater too. Malema has always had a flair for the dramatic, sometimes courting controversy like it's part of the political performance. You can almost picture the scenes, supporters cheering, cameras rolling, and the tension in the air. The court ruling adds a real-world consequence to this drama, reminding everyone that the stage of politics is not entirely separate from the courtroom. For viewers, it's worth considering the broader implications. South Africa continues to wrestle with race relations, social justice, and political accountability. Cases like this force leaders, parties, and the public to confront difficult questions: where does freedom of speech end? How do we prevent incitement without stifling political debate? And perhaps most importantly, how do we build a society where words are used to unite rather than divide? Now, for a bit of perspective, this case may also influence future political rallies. Leaders might need to think twice before using language that could be interpreted as threatening or inciting violence. And while Malema supporters might see this as another example of the establishment targeting him, critics will likely point to it as a necessary check on rhetoric that could spark harm. So, what comes next? The DA has promised to consider further action, which could involve additional legal proceedings or even pushing for parliamentary scrutiny. For Malema and the EFF, the challenge will be maintaining their political momentum while navigating a court system that may not always be sympathetic to incendiary speech. The political chessboard in South Africa is complex, and every move is watched closely by citizens, media, and international observers alike. In summary, Julius Malema's guilty ruling in the Equality Court is more than just another headline. It's a reflection of the ongoing tensions in South Africa's political landscape, the delicate balance between speech and safety, and the high stakes involved when politics, law, and race intersect. The drama, the controversy, and the potential consequences make this a story that will be followed closely in the coming weeks and months. Before we wrap up, we want to hear from you. What do you think of the Equality Court ruling against Julius Malema? Do you agree that his words crossed the line, or do you see this as a politically motivated decision? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because we love reading and responding to your opinions. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any updates on South Africa's political scene. See you next time, and remember, stay informed, stay curious, and keep questioning the headlines.